have a quorum. First order of business is to accept the minutes of the March 26th regular meeting.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, Lauren?
Aye.
Alyssa? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Me, aye. All right, next up is information on the Up Island Public Safety Garage with Steve Pendleton.
Yay! Hey, we got 2 slides. No, 1 slide, actually. We'll just go to the second one.
Cut to the back. Whoops.
Yeah,
What did you say? How to do that?
go to slideshow up. And then down, and then page down.
Okay.
And then, okay. So I'm gonna have to get a little closer because I
You know,
can't.
I do have a laser pointer. Would you be safe with that?
Bro. All right, so here we are. We have, the final changes were put in, the heat source, moving from the heat pumps to the in-floor as everybody requested. That everybody, we listened to that, so we made the change to that. Subsequent to that meeting, we paid the deposit of the $25,000 to lock in the steel price. Or slack in the steel building to purchase that, which that's checks was accepted, so we have a building. The quote remained at the $434, which included the increase in the building cost. There is an additional $16,500 bill from the architects, the Blatt Associates, whatever, Stephen Blatt, for all these additional changes, which would take that 430 up, 38 up to, 450-ish, 3-ish. However, we do have some additional private donations came in. So, we actually have not only money to cover the the cost, but now we have some minor contingency, which will be beneficial because we were really bootstrapping this. With the hope that, maybe the health center would allow us to, have some of their contingency. So now, I feel pretty good about that. So I think we're at a point tonight where, any changes we want to do, we watch as the project moves and we start to build a change order list that we want in case, there's funds available for a bathroom or whatever else we want to do. But I think we lock this thing in with the uncertainty that we're dealing with now in the economy and everything. I think the prudent recommendation would be for the select board to go ahead and approve the final contract and move to a contract signature from the for everyone to look at it and sign off on. But that's my opinion, but that's what I know, the changes and the updates as of today. So I'm looking for input from anyone who wants to.
On the first block statement, what kind of figures for the alternative heat system, what kind of numbers did you get?
Yeah, it was reduced approximately, it did with from 400 to 200 amp. And the changes did bring in a decrease of around $20,000.
Only $20,000
Yeah, well,
difference?
Yeah, does that not seem like a lot? I didn't know.
It seems quite small. But I haven't studied what the first quote detailed for numbers, other than what you had that budget sheet.
Right,
And I thought we would end up getting some kind of budget sheet that would show the price differences.
Well, so because they're still working on the architectural drawings, we don't have the final number on that.
Okay.
That will be forthcoming. My concern is I didn't, I went kind of slow a couple meetings ago. I didn't feel we should move with any aggressiveness because of, with the building purchase and stuff. But now with the tariffs and everything, I think any delay is pretty easily stated that it's gonna cost us more money. And so my idea here would be to get agreement on moving forward. And then, as soon as I have those numbers, I'll make Janet aware of that. And I can bring all the final numbers. But the good news is, because we do have some additional contributions,
Right.
I'm very confident that we're not looking at a deficit of any nature. So I'm asking for some, I guess, leap of faith that, we've done our diligence to the point where I think we're comfortable with the risk factor that's minimal at this point.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
The only question that I had is on the private donations that came in. Are we assured where they're gonna go?
A significant one came in and was designated for
The town. That's
Yes, Brian's already put them in under the Up Island Public Safety.
I wasn't sure if it would end up going into the same
pot.
pool that.
No, this was designated
No,
strictly
we
for
have
this.
3 separate
Okay.
accounts.
Good question, but designated specifically for this project.
Okay.
Other questions? Pete, anyone?
So just to be clear, are you looking for a motion from the select board tonight to allow you to work to bring forward a final contract for us to review and sign at the next meeting?
At the next meeting that it's available,
Okay,
yes.
I would make that motion. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor, Lauren,
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Jake? Aye. Thank
I'll
you.
give you a discreet.
It's.
Why the mercy?
That was nothing hanky panky.
No,
Yeah.
just souls, brothers from different mothers, there we go.
Thank you for all of your hard work.
No, well,
Yes.
Thank you.
yes, I would like to point out, I'll do this at the end, but Lauren brought this thing down $1 million. So, later,
Yeah,
my effort has been very minimal compared to what she and Pete have done for the project and Bert's input and everything. It's really been a good group to work with.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Steve, but you really did a great job in the final stretch. Thank you.
All right, next up, visitor comments. Is there anybody that wants to bring anything forward that is not currently on the agenda?
Like public comment?
Yes. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
sure.
Ben.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Good.
Good. I have something that I prepared, partly with my brother Gabe and partly by myself. That I just want to bring to the select board here, and I'll just read it if that's all right with you guys. I also sent some of this to Shay as well. It's members of the Islesboro Select Board, I come before you today with grave apprehension about the state of our country and concerns about how our community might react to adversity in the coming years. In recent months, the Trump administration has turned up its attack on immigrants of all kinds, not just undocumented ones. In several instances, they have deported people who were here in our country legally. In one case, they ignored a judge's order to return a plane carrying prisoners to America. The administration ignored due process and the aircraft proceeded to El Salvador, where the deportees were effectively disappeared without an opportunity to sit before a judge. This flies in the face of our Constitution and due process. One of those people, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a man with a family and no criminal record, was deported despite specific wording from a federal court preventing his deportation. This man is now stuck in prison in a foreign country. Despite a federal judge's order, the Trump administration denies its obligation to return him to the United States. Marco Rubio has recently claimed he's working to allow the deportation of American citizens to prisons in El Salvador. We are living in unprecedented times. These instances are not just the province of the 6 o'clock news. They occur right here in Maine. Immigration detention centers are popping up and their prisoner numbers are skyrocketing. Waldo Sheriff's Department recently aided the Border Patrol in detaining a man and his girlfriend from Montville. There was much speculation in the media about whether the Sheriff's Department was in the wrong for contacting BCP. The issue in Montville brings to light what I've brought here today. Many communities around America are rejecting the jurisdiction of ICE and CBP in their everyday lives. They recognize that communities in which migrants are uncomfortable approaching law enforcement to report crimes are less safe, and where migrants won't seek a doctor to report an illness are less healthy. Many communities recognize that the federal government may neither issue directives requiring the state to address particular problems, nor command the state's officers or those of their political subdivisions to administer or enforce a federal regulatory program. That's from the Constitution. Courts have repeatedly held that the 10th Amendment prohibits the federal government from compelling states and localities to participate in immigrant enforcement. The Supreme Court has clarified that immigration enforcement is the sole duty of the federal government, and state and local police may only carry out immigration enforcement if specifically authorized to do so by the federal government. That's from the American Immigration Council. Indeed, there are even some cases where local law enforcement has been held liable for holding people on federal agency detainers. Most notably, that was the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department had a huge lawsuit on their hands because of it. I've come before you today to request that the Select Board first put a directive in place for our local law enforcement and town employees. I would then ask that this issue be brought before the people of Islesboro to be voted on in a town meeting to ratify these points into a local ordinance. Here's what I suggest. So, purpose and implementation. This directive establishes the policy of the town of Islesboro regarding cooperation with Customs and Border Patrol or U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, heretofore referred to as immigration agents, to ensure that local law enforcement upholds constitutional due process protections while maintaining public trust and safety. This here's the policy. So, non-facilitation of immigration enforcement. Local law enforcement officers and personnel shall not participate in civil immigration enforcement actions or facilitate immigration agents' operations unless immigration agents comply with all due process requirements as mandated by the U.S. Constitution. Due process compliance requirements. Prior to cooperating with any immigration agent's request, town employees or local law enforcement shall verify that immigration agents provide a judicially issued warrant signed by a judge, not to be confused with an administrative detainer request or warrant of removal. A detainer is an official but non-binding request that a state or local law enforcement agency maintain custody of an individual for up to 48 hours beyond the time the individual otherwise would have been released, so that immigration agents can arrange to take over custody. They must also demonstrate compliance with all procedural and substantive due process rights under the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments. And immigration agents shall also ensure that I'm getting lost here. So the town or its employees will not enter into a contract with immigration agents to hold immigrants in detention, to transport, or to contract to transport immigrants to be detained. 2, non-disclosure of information. Town employees or local law enforcement shall not share non-public personal information about individuals with immigration agents unless required by law. Any request for information by immigration agents shall be reviewed by legal counsel first to ensure compliance with constitutional protections. 3, conduct of local law enforcement office. Local law enforcement shall not partake in 287G agreements through which immigration agents deputize local law enforcement officers to enforce federal immigration law. 4, the public safety exception. This policy does not prohibit cooperation with federal authorities when individuals are involved in criminal activity. So just to clarify, most immigration violations are civil offenses, and police officers should be charged with or making arrests for criminal offenses, and specifically non-federal ones, unless they've been served a judicial warrant. So that's my take. I sent that policy to Shay's email about 10 minutes ago. So if anyone wants to review that, you can. I have lots and lots of information on all of it, mostly from the American Immigration Council. So yeah, thank you for hearing me.
Great. Thank you for bringing this up and for doing, such thorough research and asking, for action. I have not, had a chance to see it in writing yet, but I appreciate you sending it. And I guess I think maybe what would be, I guess my recommendation at this point is to make sure I can share that with Janet, and we can include that policy language in our next board packet and bring it up under new business as a policy for discussion.
Yeah.
Does that
Yep.
feel reasonable? And so I guess if you are interested and willing to attend the next meeting when that's discussed, I think that would be great and helpful. And also Fred, since you are on here, I think it would be great to have your perspective in the conversation from the public safety officer position. So I don't know if,
I would like to make an adjustment to that statement that Ben made. First of all, my job is to uphold the laws of the state of Maine. And part of upholding the laws of the state of Maine is enforcing civil violations. Most of your traffic violations are civil violations. So let's correct that right now. The other thing is I have no desire to detain anybody on immigration status unless they have an arrest warrant in place, or they're wanted for questioning at the committing of a crime, like Ben had said before. So you have one officer, you don't have time to do all that. So I don't think you really have to do something up for the town of Islesboro, because we don't have the time to do that. But if they are wanted by the federal government on a warrant, or if they are wanted by the federal government for questioning, it is my obligation and it is my job, and I'm sworn to it yearly, to participate in that. But our job is not immigration enforcement.
Peter?
Yeah, Shay, will you have the town's attorney review this before you decide on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Before we give it out or before?
I guess it's a good question. I'd like to, I think certainly it would be helpful for her to weigh in before we did any action. So, if we want to I'd like to look at it to understand if it makes sense to discuss and then send to her, or if it makes sense to, have her look at it prior to our discussion. Amy, I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much. I want to thank Ben and his brother for bringing this to us. And Fred, I appreciate your comments. I think that there is value, I think there is value to our community in making a statement, even if our current practice is consistent with Ben's proposal. I think there are people in our community who are fearful for a variety of reasons, and standing together as a community would be a comfort to me, and it would be a comfort, I think, to other people. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. I agree with that statement. And I think, partly the reason that I wanted to do this was watching what the Waldo Sheriff's Department was going through on social media and in the media as well, not just social media, and wanting to make clarifications and get clarifications for the community about what our local law enforcement standpoint was is in regards to immigration enforcement. So that, thanks for clarifying that. And I'm sorry, if my letter seems a little terse, it was just because I didn't want to take up too much of your guys' time.
Ben,
So, yep.
Ben, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you understand that our job is not immigration enforcement?
No, Fred, I don't understand that. And I mean, I think there's a lot of local police departments that also don't understand that all across America. People are running into it in Los Angeles County, they're running into it in Arizona,
Right.
into it all over the place. So that the idea is
I just want to say that, I just want to make the statement that our job is not to enforce immigration status. Our job is to enforce state laws, which can be civil laws. They don't all have to be criminal laws. Our job is not to enforce immigration. If somebody is wanted on a federal arrest warrant, a state arrest warrant, or if they are wanted for questioning by the federal government and that they can expeditiously come to the island and do this without us having to detain these people for very long, then that's what our job is. As far as immigration enforcement, there is no intention of doing any immigration enforcement. We don't have the resources to do that.
So I think, I would appreciate the opportunity to kind of see the policy in writing and then have an opportunity for kind of thorough discussion. So, I'd say let's, table this for now and plan to bring it up under new business at our next meeting on April 23rd.
Okay.
And you'll be sending that to all of the members of the select board?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ben. Very important.
You're very welcome. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, is there anything else that, folks would like to bring up under visitor comments? All right, next up, ferry service update, Peter Wilcox.
Well, thanks to John over in North Haven, we were sent the link, YouTube link to the North Haven Select Board meeting. In that meeting, Bruce Van Note said that the proposed move of the ferries to the mainland was all off, not happening anymore, except for Islesboro. And unlike the meeting, I think it was September, October, where he said, this is gonna happen because I say so, he's now taking a much more polite attitude and saying that it won't happen for 2 or 3 years and we want everybody's input and we're gonna study the issue. So that's where it's at. That's the latest out of the main DOT regarding the ferries moving ashore. It's only Islesboro. I
just want to clarify that point as a pilot. He didn't say that all the other communities wouldn't have to do it in the future. He's saying that he wants to pilot it on Islesboro.
Yeah, and that's the only update really with the ferry service. There's a meeting tomorrow at the Samoset in Rockland regarding the proposed rate increase, which is almost makes for a 30% increase in 1 year, or is it 2 years? 2 years, 2 years. Which I intend to attend. I also intend to attend the select board meeting in Lincolnville next Monday to propose that we install a wave buoy lent to us by the University of Maine to measure the seas coming into Lincolnville for a year as part of the engineering statement, which we will say, I expect that you can't have the ferry sleep over there without a real breakwater, which Van Note himself claimed would cost around 10 million. I'm really not sure if that was off the cuff or what. But there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done with this issue. We're going ahead with it on the emergency task force. And that's the latest on it.
What time is that meeting tomorrow, Somerset? Do you know?
I think it's at noon.
Yeah.
Do you know if that meeting will be Zoom?
Excuse me?
I'm gonna go also.
Oh, okay, okay.
And Lauren asked, you know, if the meeting's gonna be Zoomed?
Yes.
Yes, yes, it is.
And on that, I circulated draft.
I'd appreciate.
Sorry, go ahead,
Chair.
Lauren.
You'll need to unlock
I
your
think
first.
we're about to say something about, I'm just wanting
Lauren,
to
you're
be able
breaking
to
up.
zoom in, so if you already sent it to me.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
send
not
this.
sure what that means.
Oh, you were breaking up, so we really couldn't hear you. I don't know, you may need to turn off your
I'll send
video
it
so
to
that
her.
we can have a solid audio. I'm not sure. But I think you were asking for someone to send you the Zoom link. Is that what you were doing? Now you're muted.
Now you're muted. Your mic is muted.
That would be great if you would send the Zoom link if you haven't already. Thank you. Sorry about that. Miss Technology here.
Oh, we can hear you a lot better now. We like to see your face, but it's important to hear your voice. Were people comfortable with the draft?
Yes.
Testimony?
Did I not respond to you? I meant to.
No, it's okay.
I sat there and thought, I need to respond. That's not great.
That's
And then I didn't do
I
something.
did, but I added Penny Spice. That's a country surprise and agreeable.
Oh, I didn't get a response from you either.
Yeah, and I put in a whole
Everybody
spot
had a
about.
real problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the only person I heard from was Lauren, so
She's the furthest away.
I was gonna say,
No, I sent back saying that, yes, I thought that was very well worded. I wish that we could add a chunk in there that if they're gonna use Owlsboro as their test pilot for everything that they wanna do, then we must be compensated financially for it. But don't actually add that part because that was just me being petty. That was the whole email.
I started to write an email about, I started to write a paragraph about the birthing, and I thought it's really, it's not this time or the place to fight it. We need to be clear about the rate increase impact, and I think confusing the two only makes the argument less strong at this point. Any other questions, discussion? Carrie?
We have that we're going back to our summer schedule, April 13th. So there'll be more votes. That'll be good. April 13th.
Okay.
So. I guess,
I just wanted, any update with the Maggie returning?
Yeah, it's supposed to happen any day now.
Oh.
And I haven't called the ferry service since the last advisory board meeting, so
So
I
don't hold your breath, but just wait
Yeah.
for it to come.
that's right. You were
I'll
correct.
bug him tomorrow.
Yeah, well, or Sunday, maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it'd be nice to see her come steaming up in May. Her, did you?
no, I'll tell you later.
Okay. Nothing else on ferry? So you put this on letterhead to submit, is that correct?
The letter to, and, well, to the, yeah.
Okay, and you
So
can
there's really-
submit it via email to
I
her
already
too?
did.
Oh,
I
excellent,
did, but
okay,
there's no more room on, if you wanted to add something, I can change the font, make it small.
okay,
Hard to read.
8 point.
great. Sounds good, any other?
Is Peter's gonna read that letter tomorrow?
Or
Or
me.
What's that?
I can read it, or we can read it together.
Either one, I was gonna ask you after the meeting or at some point.
Sorry.
Or Steve there. He
Yeah,
could
no.
be,
Thank you both for attending, I do think it's helpful to have as much of a presence as possible, and to be there in person to give testimony is very important at this stage.
well,
Anything else, Terry? All right, sea level rise update, the next committee meeting is tomorrow at 4:30. We're still waiting to hear on our pending community action grant, which will help us continue to work with STRI. we did hear that the FEMA brick grants have been canceled, which was one of the primary sources that we had been hoping to help fund construction, so that's very disappointing. But Shri is starting to work on a congressional designated spending ask to help, which on construction. So that's the latest and greatest. Any questions on sea level rise?
Yeah. A potential idea maybe is gonna be, see if she has any influence on grants or anything, since she's on all the islands. And historically, I'm thinking just, we lost that one. Maybe she has some thoughts, just, I don't know.
Well, it is a state funded program that we're still waiting on, and the funding is still there, so hopefully we will be competitive.
Okay, fine.
We just hope to hear this month, last month, and what we heard was we'll hear this month.
Well, that's good.
All right, municipal building project update. Lauren, is there anything else you want to?
No, I don't have anything to add for tonight.
Upcoming meetings and subcommittee reports, Silver Rise meeting tomorrow. Closed for Patriots Day on April 21st, IMB on the 14th, and planning board on the 28th. Any other subcommittee report outs that people would like to give?
Municipal building project is also on the 14th.
IMB is at 6 on the 16th. Is that not correct? Wednesday, April 16th at 5?
And I
was looking at what from IMB quarterly meeting is saying April 16th, 5 p.m.
Okay, that's correct then. So I confused my acronyms, IMB, MVP.
Oh, okay. Okay. MVP 14th and 14th.
Municipal building, that's Monday, right?
Mhm.
At 4:30. IMB is 5. Okay.
all right.
Let's have another.
On the 17th, we have emergency ferry task force at 4:30 and harbor committee at 6:30.
All right, Janet, town manager's report.
Given you the minutes for committee minutes from the economic sustainability from last July. They finally just had a meeting and approved their minutes. The January 16th Housing Committee minutes. March 20th Emergency Ferry Task Force minutes. And March 27th Brindle Point Museum minutes. And the correspondence, I had an email on April 7th from Janice Petzel announcing the Island Fellow will be starting in September, so that was good news. And the April 7th, I received the Bar Harbor Wealth management for March sub-accounting. And I received a notice about LD 841, resolved to study the delivery of emergency medical services to ferry service effects on island communities in the state, sponsored by Senator Glenn Chip Curry. I didn't know his name was Glenn. And that's all for me.
And Genevieve, on our behalf, did provide testimony in person at that public hearing in support of that bill. Any questions for Janet? No other correspondence? No old business. Next up, we are not approving or signing the annual town meeting warrant. That will happen at a special select board meeting that we have set for 4:30 next Wednesday, the 16th, just because the language is not quite ready to review and finally. No other business. Next up is to approve warrant number 21. Do I have a motion? Second? Any questions, discussion?
So
All-
gracious.
All those in favor, Lauren,
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Okay, aye. All right, we have no appointments tonight. And I do not have any further comments tonight. Lauren,
No comments.
Melissa?
Congratulations to the Energy Committee for securing and receiving their $11,000 energy heat pump rebates that they have been chasing. So, in a very short period of time.
Steve?
No.
Pete?
Nope.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Aye.
Done.
Thanks, all.
One of these days we'll get the language down.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Amy Molnix, she moved here from